Dr. Alicja Brown is an amazing human being, an artist, a scientist, an innovator and thinker, but unfortunately also a patient. And so I'll let her introduce herself and then we'll jump into a conversation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marshall, and welcome everybody. As Dr. Marshall mentioned, my name is Alicja Brown, and I'm a cancer patient. And in fact, June marks 1 year since my initial diagnosis, when I was diagnosed with a stage 4 colon cancer. I work with in the biopharmaceutical companies, so in my daily work, I always try to put patients first. And this is the time when I became, I moved from putting patients first to becoming a patient. So it was a shock, a big transition, but also a big reminder of the importance of research and funding that needs to be set aside for this amazing research to happen.
No, it is so cool that you've immediately you joined a club you never wanted to be a member of. It was fine to be on the outside looking in, but now on both sides, looking inside and out, and immediately sort of jumped in all the way in this to try and have an impact, not only for yourself, of course, but for everyone else around you, which has been your mission in life, scientifically and career-wise too. So we're really grateful that you're joined this morning. And what we thought we would do is just sort of jump into some of the issues. And maybe if you don't mind, I get to ask you a question first. And working for a biopharmaceutical company, very successful one, could you talk a little bit about what the mission, what the tone, how you get up every morning and are excited to do what you do, just to share with our folks who are on the other side benefiting from the innovation and success that you guys have.
Yes, so I started my career with oncology research. I was actually studying tumor suppressors, looking at structural RNAs as tumor suppressors. And so oncology has always been part of my DNA, so to speak, even though I moved and worked in different areas, infectious disease and so forth. Cancer touches many people and it's all around us, and you can't really escape it. So that's what really motivates me to get up every morning. What I focus on right now is actually external collaborations, so building bridges between pharma and academia, because it does take a village to develop a drug, and we cannot, none of us can do it alone. So that's what really excites me, having that ability to work with academic investigators and leveraging each other's expertise and capabilities. Yeah. And I mean, for my personal note, I was so fortunate to meet you, Dr. Marshall, and receive my treatment at MedStar, and I'm just so thankful for where I am today after having gone through a couple of surgeries and chemotherapy and radiation, and now being on maintenance therapy. My focus now is to make the best of the time I have, and I continue to work. I go to work every day and continue on the mission. I think the focus, as I see it, is turning into earlier interception, earlier intervention. So looking at early disease, which means we need good diagnostic tools to screen for any signs of early disease. So I think we're trying to work back from treating late stage disease into now treating earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's noble and good, and we could spend 20 minutes on just that concept of where to spend our focus and energy. But so many of our patients, despite doing all the right things, end up with advanced disease. You're a good example. You didn't do anything wrong you don't have any family history. There's no real reason why you got this. And so many of our folks out there are too young to be having this problem, and then their disease turns out to be advanced. And so we do need to figure out what makes these cancers tick and how to manage them. And as we talked about, we wanted to focus on a couple of big picture areas of research to make sure our audience is up to speed on things. And one of everybody's favorite topic right now is immunotherapy. And in so many ways, immunotherapy has revolutionized cancer care for so many patients. I mean, every night we're seeing advertisements during Jeopardy for new medicines for lung cancer, and we know they work for melanoma. You'd think of Jimmy Carter and metastatic melanoma, and still out there building houses. But then so many others are not benefiting from these treatments. And I thought it would be useful for us to kind of talk a little bit about, these drugs and where we've come on that. And I know you guys have strong interest in this space as well.
Yes, so I actually was thinking about this. As you know, unlike chemotherapy, which uses drugs to kill cancer cells, immunotherapy helps your immune system fight cancer. And as you mentioned, not everyone is benefiting from immunotherapy, even though we all have immune system. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about some potential reasons why immunotherapy may not be the therapy of choice for everyone.
Yeah, no, it's a really important question. So I'm old. I've been doing this a while, and I've been a believer in the immune system for my entire career. And in fact, very early on, in years that began in 19, we started doing work in vaccine work to try and stimulate the immune system, because our belief at the time was that our immune systems, which are sort of the guards at the gate for foreign invaders, if you will, weren't seeing our cancers as foreign, and therefore needed to be awakened, needed to be pointed towards our cancers. And so we were doing lots of vaccine studies, and we could show that you could stimulate the immune system to recognize certain attributes of the cancer to try and go get it. And we would have some successes, I would say, but we certainly didn't have broad successes. And so this was trying to accelerate or turn on the immune system. And it really wasn't until some incredibly smart people thinking exactly the opposite. They were thinking that, wait, the immune system's fine. It's that the immune system has been blocked. The cancer has actively blocked the immune system from coming to get it. And I always think of this as sort of that Star Wars force field that's protecting the Death Star or whatever. So that if you think of Luke Skywalker out there in his X-Wing fighter, and that's the T cell, right? That's the immune system that's trying to kill the cancer. But there's this barrier, there's this force field that's preventing that. And this understanding that all you really needed to do was take out the force field, and then the T cell, Luke, could go and get the planet and kill it. And that's been an early dramatic shift in our thinking, is that the immune system wasn't broken, it was awake, and in some cancers, it was just actively being blunted or defended against by the cancer. That was one of the reasons the cancer survived, if you will. And so the medicines that we have take out the force field. And if you have an immune system and a force field and the like, all you need to do is take out the force field and the T cell can get there. So the problem has been is that not everybody's immune system is sitting out there waiting, or is effective enough to go in and kill the cancer. And so we do have some markers that suggest that you do have an immune system that's there versus not. The most prominent of this is called PD-L1. That's just the force field. Is it there or not? The other is certain characteristics of the cancer, having lots of mutations in the cancer itself, something called tumor mutational burden, or a stronger one in GI cancers is called microsatellite instability. These are genetic tests we can do on patients' tumors to say, okay, you've got a lot of things that might wake up the immune system. And if you do have those things, then maybe the immune system's out there. So these are strategies to try and pick who should benefit and who should not. But even using all of these tools, it's very hard to show that patient 1 will respond and patient 2 will not. So we are doing a lot of trying these medicines in various circumstances to see if they'll work. And they're expensive. They do have some side effects, not chemo-like side effects, more like autoimmune side effects. So what we're all trying to do is figure this out. Now, in GI cancers, we just got yet another approval in a kind of esophageal cancer, where immune therapy is now approved, FDA approved in that space, in gastric cancers, in certain kinds of colon cancers, in a lot of liver cancers, in bile duct cancers, not yet pancreas, not yet all colon, but we are slowly seeing immune therapy make its way into it. Maybe you want to reflect a little bit on why you think maybe they're not working in everybody.
Well, I think we are all different, and our immune system is different. And the role of microbiome in how we respond to immunotherapy is also an active area of research. And because of our different lifestyles and dietary choices, that microbiome makeup is also different in different people. So that could also be part of the reason why we respond differently to immunotherapy.
Yeah, I think maybe our audience needs to understand what microbiome is, because we get asked it all day, every day, is can I take a probiotic and what should I be doing? And honestly, I mean, I'm pretty smart in this space, but I don't know really how to control our microbiome. And what that means is the bacteria and other creatures that live inside us, that we've evolved over the millions of years to keep inside of us. I always think about if you had a sick forest, what you do is you take soil samples, right, to see what's in the soil. And that's not the tree, for goodness sakes, that's the stuff that's living around the tree. And yet we haven't figured out yet how to take a soil sample from our GI tracts to understand the health of our microbiome. And it's really the immune therapy world, as you point out, is waking us up to having to understand this part of our health and wellness and how to influence it. And we're just in our infancy of that. But I couldn't agree more that microbiome is going to be a very, very important part. And if we can control that, maybe we can also control the immune system better. I joke that it's not only the place where our immune system lives, it's also, I think, where the soul resides, but we can discuss that at another time. So we are excited about immune therapies, but for our patients listening in, some patients they work for, some they don't, and we're trying as much as we can to figure that out. So participating in clinical trials becomes really, really important. I know your all's group does a lot of the second area we want to talk about, and that's what we call targeted therapy or precision medicine. And maybe you could talk a little bit from your science perspective as, what you're thinking about when you're thinking about a targeted therapy or a target on a cancer.
Right. So I think before we even know what the targets are, I think, every patient gets their tumor samples analyzed, and it's called molecular profiling. And I kind of think about it as getting to know your tumor better, kind of like speed dating. You get a biopsy sample of a tumor, you send it to the lab does the analysis, and it lets you identify changes in the way cells divide or function in your body that may contribute to development of cancer. It can also lead to identification of certain specific mutations for which there may be an existing therapy, which is called targeted therapy. So taking any particular cancer type, I wonder if you can talk about, do these therapies always work in every patient with the target gene mutation? And also, can you talk about how this type of therapy may work in different tumor types? For example, if the same gene mutation is identified in a colon and pancreatic cancer, could we use the same treatment for these two different types of cancers?
Yeah, no, it's exactly where we're going. And of course, a lot of what we've been doing at the Rouge Center is to try and drive this shift from a one size fits all, just give everybody a treatment and see if it works, to characterizing, as you say, that an individual patient's cancer and trying to figure out, are there certain vulnerabilities or sensitivities that that person has that a particular medicine may work better in. And so as you say, first, almost every patient, particularly with more advanced cancers, should have this molecular testing. So if our audience doesn't know if their cancer's been tested, you know, it's one of those things, ask at your next visit. You really should have this done. And these are broad gene testing because there are lots and lots of abnormalities that we find, and some of them are very rare. That aren't necessarily done in a particular lab or another. So having to be a good consumer is important. And as you say, knowing your own tumor. I always equate this with breast cancer patients. They all know whether they have estrogen receptors or progesterone, we call PRER, or HER2 as a target. They all know that before they even walk in to see the doctor. And yet in GI cancers, we're only just getting our patients to the place where they know their own tumor and its characteristics in a way. So the problem, of course, is that when you do these genetic testing, let's say there's a molecular marker called BRAF in colon cancer, BRAF. Well, that's only present in about 10% of colon cancers. But if you have that marker, there's now a whole set of therapies that go with that treatment. There are certain new drugs in bile duct cancers where you need to have a certain marker present for that. And that may not be that common. So you're sort of excited when you send off these tests and you hope in a way that you're going to have one of these special markers. But a lot of times we end up not finding anything that we know about right now. So, and as you asked about, so yeah, sometimes you find a marker in one cancer, and then you wonder, well, can I use the same thing in another? And we have now begun to develop drugs not specific to a particular kind of cancer, let's say pancreas cancer or colon cancer, but to a particular marker. So maybe, you know, we could talk a little bit about you know, actionability. We call that actionability. Yeah. Could a pathway, we find a mutation, but is that one that we can target? There's a famous gene called RAS, R-A-S. It's present in lots of GI cancers. It's a mutation, it's abnormal, and we know it's part of why the cancer is the way it is, but it's been very difficult to find medicines to work against RAS. So it's, you know, there are these issues. I mean, how do you guys dealing with those kinds of targets?
So I think it's part of drug development process. Different targets go through different stages. So you may identify a target that you think may work, and then you have to validate the target if it actually is going, if you inhibit the target, is it going to produce the desired results? Sort of kind of target validation, and you do animal studies and toxicology studies, and eventually you test a molecule in a clinical trial. And actually the value I found in getting my tumor analyzed using molecular profiling is that I was able to learn about different types of mutations, and some of them there's no approved therapy. However, there are some molecules in clinical testing. So another benefit of getting your tumor tested is understanding diversity of mutations, so that you could search for open clinical trial, and perhaps you could participate in a clinical trial and see if you could benefit from that particular drug.
Better, faster, and all of these things loop around to each other. Precision medicine, immune therapy, improved testing, maybe control of the microbiome is a new part of this loop. Will hopefully soon, quickly, really change outcomes for everybody and change how we do business in not only drug development, delivery of cancer care, but of course, the most important in outcomes for patients. So I want to give you a great shout out and thank you for sharing your time with everybody this morning. Dr. Alicja Brown has joined us to discuss our world of research and progress in GI cancer. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And to all the patients, you get through it, stay positive and focus on what you can control. Physical exercise, diet, positive mindset. We cannot control the outcome of the disease or the outcome of the treatment, but try to stay focused on what you can control.
And if I may pile on that, one way I'm living my life with this crazy world that we're having is I'm trying to find every day, back to positive outcome, something that brings me joy. And I have to tell you that for today, this talking with you has brought me joy. So thank you very much for all you're doing for others. And with that, we will bring this session to a close. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.